now event because I'm gonna do all the endings as a playthrough. So there's gonna be 5 endings of it. So let's just head on over. Today we're gonna walk to the academy. Walk through. So let's walk around Sumeru. Sumeru has everything. So let's just glide down and keep gliding down until we bump into kaveh, talking kaveh, and then see what we can find.
I've taken a look at your proposal. It's much better than the ones you showed me before, but I'd still like to make some changes.
So we're playing the role as kaveh. Let's see.
Come on, not again. Isn't this the 6th proposal I've shown you? What's your issue this time?
It's a bit hard to put into words, but the design still doesn't look quite right to me.
I have to say, that's a terribly vague and unconvincing explanation. Please enlighten me. What would feel more right to you?
For starters, don't you think this roof is jutting out a bit too far from the top? It looks almost like the head of a fungus. This door, too. I don't think it needs to be nearly this large. If you could reduce it to around my height, you could use the leftover materials to construct a few more rooms.
The roof and the door are the most fundamental parts of a building. If we were to change them, then what would be left of the design? Even if the soul of the building won't be lost, all traces of architectural style would be gone. Anyone with the slightest inkling of architectural knowledge would know to leave them alone.
Oh, I understand the principles of what you are saying, of course, but the truth remains that I'm still a bit unhappy with the design as is. Is there anything else that you can do? Oh, actually, I just got an idea. Can we get rid of all the extraneous sections on the roof, so the whole design will just be one vertical structure, similar to that of a tree trunk?
What?
Don't architects often say that symmetry makes everything more balanced and pleasing to the eye? This way, the proportions will be completely balanced.
I really don't know how you managed to come up with such a ridiculous idea. Wait, don't tell me. Someone hired you specifically to commission me and put me through the ringer? Come to think of it, though, I really don't think I've gotten on anyone's bad side recently. Anyway, that's it. I will not be working on this commission anymore. Goodbye. Maybe you can find yourself some other genius who'll be able to satisfy your demands.
Oh, kaveh played real hard. Real bad.
Hey, young man, please wait.
Oh, sorry about Dowie. Kaveh looks like he's in a bad mood. I should go check up on him. Well, he is in a bad mood. Literally. Well, if Kaveh's gonna be in a bad mood, well, at least I can cheer him up and calm his mind and everything. Imagine what would Kaveh do if he goes in a ruckus. He always be in the academia. He always be with Al-Haytham because he is his roommate. It's always his problem of everything. So let's see. Oh, Kaveh looks down a bit.
Taking this commission was truly the worst decision ever.
Are you alright?
Oh, hey, I wasn't expecting to run into you here. Actually, while we're on that, what are you doing here at the tavern? Don't listen to anyone who says that drinking is an elegant pastime. It's no good for your health.
I saw you arguing with I saw you arguing with someone just now.
So you saw all that, did you? Ugh, I thought I was in the clear. I made sure to double check that nobody I knew was around. Anyway, thanks for looking out for me. Honestly, it wasn't that big of a deal. I'm used to it by now. Stress is just an inescapable part of being a working adult. Boss, I'll have a glass of wine, same as last time. Do you want something too? I'll put it on my tab.
I'll have a glass of juice.
Wine and a glass of juice coming right up.
Kaveh chugged it down his entire glass of wine.
I know you're already keeping a secret from me, but if you could add this one to the list as well, I'd really appreciate it. Arguing with a client is not a good look for me. If word gets out, other potential clients might be afraid to work with me. That guy, though, what was he even going on about? All those ridiculous demands of his? He's just a blabbering fool trying to act like a know-it-all.
Kaveh seems a lot more honest after he had some wine.
Another glass, please, boss. I'm not leaving today till someone has to carry me out.
You've got it, sir. I gotta say, though, it almost feels like you're saying that every other day now.
It really is every other day that you'd run into a client who knows nothing about construction requirements or architectural style. If this was in the past, I'd never have gone through 6 whole drafts trying to accommodate the client's preferences. But perhaps getting used to this just means that I've grown numb to it. I've worked on so many projects since graduation, and none of them have been approved at the first pass. I would spend a lot of time altering my designs, and by the time the clients were finally satisfied, all my passion and enthusiasm would be gone. It feels like I'm straying further and further from my artistic vision with every change I have to make. I suppose, though, that just sticking to your guns and completely disregarding other people's feedback would also not be a good thing. All of this makes for a real paradox, one that particularly crops up in my work, too. In the end, what is the true meaning of art? Should I see it as a divine gift of inspiration from the gods, or an expression of the light of my own wisdom?
Here's your drink. How are you already spouting nonsense after just one glass? Your tolerance is usually much better than that.
Boss, what do you think is the meaning of art?
The meaning of art? Really, my friend, who in Sumeru understands art better than you? Anyway, I don't know about art, but I do know that I'm interested in business, and some patrons are waiting to be served. So, you'll have to excuse me for now. Just holler if you need anything.
What do you think, traveler?
Something that embodies a creator's effort and dedication.
Exactly. So our thoughts on the meaning of art are rather similar.
Yes, his heart got
In Sumeru, and especially Sumeru of the past, the arts are not a popular discussion topic. Trying to talk about the arts is basically the key to killing any conversation. It's too bad that I'm not in my best form today. Otherwise, we could have talked about this for a little longer.
Kaveh still looks dejected, and even the wine didn't help his mood. How can I help cheer him up? Maybe I should play it safe and just make a simple suggestion. Let's do something else. I'll help you convince the clients to come to your side.
Thanks for offering, but you've seen how he is. He's not going to listen to anything I say. He understands nothing about my design, and all the suggestions he made were as if he just wanted to mock me.
I don't think he was intentionally trying to be... if you can convince him, even if... I don't think he was intentionally trying to be difficult.
Okay, it is possible that I was just jaded by my frustration. Well, given I'm already on my 6th draft, I can probably push myself to make a 7th. Let's go have another talk with him. I know where we'd be able to find the guy. There's no time to waste. The wine can wait until another time. I'll go take care of the bill.
Okay, so let's look for the client in Port Ormos. That's where we're heading to. So, I know this is difficult. That kaveh is overstressing. So, hope it's gonna be. Let's see. We can teleport to Port Ormos and let's see. Let's see. Teleport. Alright, so where's the client of kaveh is? He's somewhere around. So that's the client that kaveh was talking to. But Dolly.
Kaveh, what are you doing here?
I've changed my mind. I was overreacting earlier. Can we try discussing the project some more?
My apologies as well. Now that I think about it, some of my requests were indeed a bit unreasonable. If I choose you to create the design for my project, I should have a bit more faith in your vision.
Thank you for understanding. Mutual trust is the basis for good communication. Now that we've got that out of the way, I think we can have a more productive conversation. To be perfectly honest, your commission request has been the most peculiar one I've ever received. Even now, I still know nothing about the building's intended purpose. All I know is that you want to build something in the desert for public use. I am aware that overly specific requests will restrain the architect's artistic freedom. However, knowing nothing about the intended purpose of the building also means I have no idea if I'm on the right track. I've produced several draft proposals for you to choose from. You've rejected every single one. If we don't get on the same page, it could be a decade before we can finally break ground on this project.
Yes, I've given this some thought already. I think we can go with the general direction of the latest proposal that you just showed me. It's just...
Just what?
Putting the building design aside, can we get some less expensive materials for the floor tiles? I know someone in the business, and the red bricks he sells can go for pretty cheap. The timber here as well. We should be able to find some substitutes.
Please give me a moment. My head's starting to hurt again. Just please hold on for a second. So, let me get this straight. You want to reduce the cost of the project, right? But if we implement your suggestions, then I'm afraid we have to scrap the entire design. Architectural design cannot be neatly split into discrete parts. Any change to one part of the design will affect the quality of the whole thing. I decided to utilize high-end timber for this section because the weight-bearing structure requires the supporting materials to be durable and strong. Same with the tiles. Switch them out and the entire mural will have to be redesigned. More importantly, if we make such a change, Both its practical functionality and aesthetic value will take a great hit. If all you need is a building with a roof that can keep people dry in the rain, you shouldn't have commissioned me. Many architects would be able to build you one of those while charging far less in commission fees.
Actually, Please tell me, are you absolutely sure that there's no room for any changes in this draft of the design?
I think the most important thing for me is to understand what you would actually like to get. If you could tell me more about your vision, I might be able to work with the design some more. You are the client, after all. You should have the final say on how the project turns out.
I want to build something unique. Something quiet and warm inside. A refuge that can block out the world outside. I want all who enter this building to be able to temporarily forget everything that's going on outside of the building and just focus on their task at hand.
Yes.
That's a bit more information than last time, but it's still extremely vague. To put it another way, every rich person who wants to build a mansion for themselves would request something like this. We've gone through many proposals, and this draft is already the cheapest one. Cutting costs by substituting building materials will not only detract from the overall effect of the building, it also won't save you much more in the grand scheme of things.
Thank you for giving it so much thought. Please give me some more time to mull over the budget. I'll get back to you once I've figured out a solution. I still have a few business meetings that I must attend, so I'm afraid I'll have to leave for now. You can just leave the proposal as is. I'll get in touch once I've given it some more thought.
And there he goes. Why do I feel like he's hiding something?
I also have a similar feeling.
Should we follow him and see if anything unusual comes up?
Is that really okay? I mean, what he does now is none of our business. He does seem really suspicious, though. He dresses like a rich person, but when you talk to him, he hardly sounds the part.
He sounds super frugal, too.
That's actually pretty common. Not all rich people are spendthrifts. Many are just, as if not more, stingy than him. The more mora some people have, the more they love interfering with people's lives. Like constantly reminding you to pay back your debts, or hinting every other day that it's time for you to pay rent. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm not even sure this person really wants to work on this project with me. Putting his vague requests aside, he's still finding excuses to procrastinate even when we've decided on a plan. Who knows how long construction will take if he keeps delaying things like this? We should find him again and get some clearer answers. The sooner we can break ground on this, the better.
I hope he has some kind of... Well, I guess the only thing to do is follow the client. So, all we need to do is hire him. Oh, look at those crates.
Huh? Where did he go? I could have sworn he went this way. Let's keep looking.
So, let's see if he's anywhere around. Hope he... So, you search the area with kaveh, but you will find no trace of Badawi.
Oh, hey, look! Isn't that Badawi? It sure looks like him, but he's dressed completely different now. What is he up to?
He's dressed like an eremite.
Didn't I tell you before? I'm not looking for more workers. Plus, aren't you a bit old for physical labor? If something happens to you, I won't be able to pay for it.
Oh, you won't have to worry about that. I grew up as an eremite mercenary and worked in the desert my entire life. My body's still in great shape. I don't have many talents, but I still have my muscle. If you need someone to unload goods or drive away sumpter beasts, I'm your man.
You used to be an Aramite mercenary?
I know there are a lot of bad apples in our ranks, but most are just trying to make a living. We're not that greedy by nature, and we'll do our best, given a job.
Let me think. I'm sorry, but I still can't take you in. I don't have any open positions right now, and don't have the Mora for anything more. How about this? Why don't you try your luck somewhere else?
Okay.
He used to be a member of the Aramites? Huh. From the way he was dressed, I would have thought he was a merchant from the rainforest. Let's ask him about it.
Okay, but back before he was like, he wore a normal dress, but now he wore an Aramite dress. Something's off with him. But now we need to ask.
We meet again.
Huh? Why are you guys here?
That's what we wanted to ask you. Who are you? Why did you dress up like a merchant to talk to me about our project?
You're an Aramite?
There's no need for us to continue this project if you still want to keep hiding things from us. I don't work with individuals I can't trust.
Believe me, I didn't have any bad intentions. It's just... All right, there's no point hiding anything anymore. The building I'm trying to commission you for is not really a personal residence for me, but rather a library for children living in the desert.
A library? Funded entirely by yourself? Shouldn't this be the responsibility of the academia? I've heard that the academia will be looking to prioritize the desert with the allocation of educational resources and materials. It sent over a large shipment of regular goods just last month.
You're right, and I was aware of these happenings as well. I just figured what I want to do is a separate effort from what's already being done by the academia. The desert is too vast. Even if the academia spends a lot of effort trying to disseminate knowledge in those parts, it might still take decades, if not centuries, to reduce the educational gap that already exists between the two regions. And what's more, I don't know if the academia would ever reverse its stance in the future. All I know is that as a desert dweller, we should not wait passively for good things to happen to us. If we only did that, we'd never be able to stand up and hold our heads high. I don't have much longer left on this world, so I just want to use whatever time I have to contribute something to my homeland.
But why? But why did you feel like you needed to lie?
I didn't want you to know that I came from the desert. I've lived in the desert my entire life, and there wasn't anyone here that I could trust. I figured I needed as much safety as I could get.
To the point that you even disguised your identity? That's certainly taking playing it safe to the next level. Hold on. Don't tell me you've also been scammed before.
When I first came to Sumeru City, I brought a lot of Mora, hoping to find an architect that I could work with. Someone agreed to take on the project, and even took a sum of Mora from me, but then disappeared without a trace. After that, I heard that there are a lot of untrustworthy people in this business. Some would run as soon as they've been paid, while others would deliberately use expensive materials and take a cut of the construction funding. I spent a while collecting information in the city, and eventually learned that you're the most famous architect in all of Sumeru. I figured that you wouldn't need to make Mora by scamming people, so I decided to reach out to you. By the way, how did you know I was scammed? I don't think I've ever mentioned that to anybody.
Well, you're wearing an Aramite outfit. Before you were in your own original clothes, and now you're wearing an Aramite clothes.
Just a hunch. A while ago, I accepted an offer to work on a project in the desert, and was also scammed out of a large sum of mora. I ran into someone who was living in a pretty run-down house. I noticed a load-bearing wall on the verge of collapse, and suggested that I build a new house for him. He said that he had no way to pay for it, so I loaned him some of my own mora, and told him to get some stone and timber from the local vendors. Soon after that, I found out that he had gone gambling with all the money, and lost everything, down to the last coin. And after that, he even borrowed mora from me twice more, using a different excuse each time. I didn't even suspect him of any wrongdoing until he hired a group of mercenaries and tried to ambush me in his own house. According to him, I looked like an easy target because I was an academia scholar who didn't have any family or friends in the desert. What kind of person would just look at someone else and think, this guy looks like an easy target?
Those kinds of things do happen every once in a while, yes. Folks like him are the exact reason why us desert dwellers' reputation have gone down the drain. I must apologize to you on their behalf.
It's all right. You were also scammed by someone from Kasharwar after all. I should apologize to you on their behalf. Ultimately, neither of our experiences had anything to do with the desert or the rainforest. People who are new to an area are always easy targets for criminals.
Bad people are always everywhere.
Yeah, you'll find both good and bad people everywhere. I can't understand the logic of those who like to take advantage of others, but I have to accept their existence as a fact of life. Anyway, I digress. Let's return to the topic at hand. Did you keep rejecting my designs because you thought I was deliberately using expensive materials to take a cut as a middleman?
That's what I was afraid of initially, yes. I eventually understood that you weren't out to cheat me. But unfortunately, I still don't have nearly enough mora to pay for the design you proposed. I've done the math and know that we should be able to make it if we cut some corners. However, after our conversations, I can see that you're passionate about your design, and I'm quite fond of the proposal as well. So, I decided to try and see if I can afford your proposal as is. I've been looking for work every day, and in another month, I should be able to cobble together enough mora to meet the budget.
By cobble together, you mean you're going to spend your entire life savings on this project? But then, what will you do if something unexpected comes up, and you find yourself stuck with no emergency fund?
To be honest, I haven't really thought about that. I mean, when you've lived to be my age and something happens, you can't really call it unexpected anymore. All I want is to build this library before I leave this world, so that the children of the future would have some books to read, and the desert dwellers would be able to learn their letters and pick up some practical knowledge.
You seem really passionate about this project.
A while ago, I heard that the academia had decided to recruit a number of exceptional children from the desert. Of course, this is welcomed news. But as someone who's spent their entire life in the desert, I still have a few concerns. I know the desert life and can predict what the problems will be. Many children from the desert have had neither the interest nor the proper environment to learn. So even if the academia would take them in, once they enter the halls, they might find themselves surrounded by other children who look and act very differently from them. And as a result, they might become socially isolated.
Yes, I can imagine that. My father passed away at an early age. Even though I had a good number of friends during my years at the academia, for some time I still sensed many critical looks in my direction. I'm sure a child coming all the way from the desert will have an even harder time. But let's bring this back to the building itself. I think you said that you want this building to be quiet and warm, with its doors serving as a solid barrier to block out the sound and fury outside, and allow one to focus on the book in their hands. Building it according to the current plan will be quite costly. Even if I don't charge you any commission fees, I don't think would be able to keep it under your budget. Any ideas on what we can do?
Can we try slightly different style?
A slightly different style? Give me a minute. Most architects would probably prioritize cutting costs and removing extra features in this situation. Indeed, converting the building into a simple bungalow would solve most of our problems. However, I do not think this would be the best solution. While it's true that the aesthetic value of a building is often viewed as an afterthought, neglecting it has some long-term negative consequences. It is especially undesirable in this situation, as the library will serve a high number of children, many of whom would have never been exposed to structures that may be considered elegant or beautiful. To completely give up on the more aesthetic design would mean stripping the children of an opportunity to appreciate the beauty of architecture. I share Badawi's sentiments in wanting to preserve a more complex design. However, if we can reduce the ornate aspects of the design while maintaining its fundamental elegance, which is to say we won't touch the arches and stone pillars, but make changes elsewhere, this is definitely a first. To make up for the loss of regular details, we would need to put a lot of extra effort into the layout, lines, and color.
You mean texture?
I see. Would that really be okay?
It just increases the difficulty of the design. You should feel lucky that out of all the architects in the city, you chose to approach me. Most of the others would have given up on this project by now. As for inspiration, I think I might have something in mind, but I'd need to visit the site to make sure. Where do you want this place to be built? Tell me the exact location.
Aru Village. Although it wasn't my childhood home, I think it'll be the best site for such a building.
Okay, then we can pay a visit to Aru Village.
Is there something I can do for you? I've already caused you a lot of trouble before, and now you're revising the design again because of me. Which draft are we even on now? It's making me feel terribly guilty.
Let me think. You said you used to be an Eremite mercenary, right? In that case, you could help us clear out some monsters that are blocking the way to Aru Village. We want to keep the roads clear, and reduce the loss of materials during transport to a minimum. If everything goes well, that'll help us save some Mora.
All right, just leave it to me. If there's anything I'm good at, it's clearing out monsters.
What are you waiting for then? Let's pack up and get ready to go.
Alright, so we're going to our village, which we can teleport to Caravan Rivat. So here we are in Caravan Rivat, but let's see if we head out to the gates. Look at the big gap. Look at the Caravan Rivat's big walls. It blocks out all the sandstorm around it. And a little desert fox. Sure, little guy. You know how big these walls is. The Dendro Archon blocked these walls, so no sand can ever cross the forest. If any of the sand crosses the forest, it'll be disaster, like a sandstorm in distress. So, let's enter here. There. That's where the building point is. So, why don't we boost up with Yelan speed? So let's enter. Oh, this is gonna be worth it.
Most materials going from Caravan Ribat to Aru Village would pass through here. There are a lot of monsters out here today. If you find it hard to keep up, just let us know.
Oh, don't worry about me. This is nothing. I'll be careful, though, and you should do the same.
So, let's clear out all the monsters, so... Uh-oh.
Come at me! Hey,
Whoa, look at his actions.
Gotcha.
Scanning.
Yeah. Kave's moves are so cool.
Sight clear. Come at me.
Kave's moves are so angular. So consistent. Let's see them. Whoa! He was under the skin.
Sight clear.
That's his...
Scanning.
Quietly now.
Let's see.
Breaking new ground. Come at me.
Whoa! Okay. Kave's head is going down. Well, had to feed him. Hope it's worth his cost. Gotta feed him. Cookies.
Scanning.
Whoa! Be careful when he shoots him.
Burn.
Gotcha.
Yes, that should deal with him. Are you hurt?
I'm fine. I've spent my entire life fighting these kinds of monsters in the desert, after all. They won't get the best of me. But it's one thing to fight against monsters, and another to fight against an old injury. It's something I picked up when I was young. There were many fights between mercenary brigades back then, and one day someone stabbed me in the back. I don't think much of it back then, but with age, it's caught up to me. Few mercenaries get to enjoy their later years. Failing health tends to take the joy out of reputation and wealth, and many mercenaries never even made much of the latter to begin with.
Is there someone you know who can help to look after you?
Unfortunately, no. My wife passed away at an early age, and I don't have any children.
Oh, that's
Sometimes
sad.
I'd close my eyes and realize most of my life story has already been written. I have many regrets about my past, but at the same time, I also know that there were never many options for me in the first place. I joined the Eremites when I was young, and won many battles with them. My survival was more a matter of luck than actual ability. If at all possible, I want future children of the desert to have some more options in life. I don't want them to turn out like me. My apologies. The older we get, the more we tend to ramble. Seems like we've already cleared out most of the monsters. Let's hurry over to Aru village.
But Dalby walks into the distance, and what's on your mind?
I think it's really admirable of him to spend his whole life savings on people he's never met. Maybe he's doing this out of natural kindness. A kindness that hasn't been eroded away by the struggles of his life.
Doesn't that also sound like you, Kaveh?
Perhaps. To clarify, though, I don't think I'm quite the same. Some people call me an idealist. I do have some sentiments of that general persuasion, such as wanting everyone to be able to lead a happy life. But my situation is more complex than that. In the beginning, what drove me to harbor those thoughts was less idealism and more a desire to make up for a sense of guilt. When I was young, I impulsively encouraged my father to take part in the first Inter-Darshan Championship, hosted by the Academia. He set off confidently hoping to win something for me, but failed to clinch the title. What's more, he fell into depression after the competition, and requested to join an investigative research project in the desert. I never saw him again. Word has it that he got caught in quicksand. Even if other factors may have contributed to his death, the fundamental cause still circles back to me.
Oh.
I started doing many things in life because I wanted to make amends. Even in cases where I couldn't do something for a specific person, I still did whatever I could. I think I just wanted to make myself feel a little better.
And is that still how you feel?
At this point, even I don't know. I've tried self-reflection, but it didn't help. I can't seem to walk away from many things that I see or hear about, even if they don't directly concern me. And I can't quite pinpoint the source of it. Maybe it's just like what those Vahumana scholars often say. It's hard for people to truly understand themselves. I could be doing things out of endless guilt, or I could be doing them out of a strong sense of empathy. It could even just be a matter of conceit. The potential motivations could number in the dozens, but the actions they result in are the same. Anyway, I suppose I don't really mind being called an idealist. They also use that term to describe my father. It seemed to carry fewer connotations back when he was around. I've known Al-Haytham for many years now, and discussed my ideology with him for nearly as long. Maybe argued is a better word for it. He told me a long time ago that no matter how strong of a swimmer you may be, you'll still get dragged under by the others who are drowning once you run out of stamina. He believes this is the fate that awaits all idealists. I still believe I should live by my ideals, and I've given him countless reasons why I think it's a good idea to do so. Perhaps my ideals are flawed, but are there really any perfect things in this world? Unfortunately, he remains unconvinced. His personality is the exact opposite of my own. If someone happens to drown next to him, he'll most likely stand on the shore and mumble something along the lines of respecting other people's fates. But as you can see, I'm not the only idealist in the world. Just as there are different seasons, there are also different people. There are many others who will continue to care about the fates of those who are not directly related to them. And when I finally run out of stamina, someone will also reach out and bring me back to shore. Someone will help me, right? Yes, I've already been helped like that before.
I'll help you when the time comes.
But you've helped me plenty already. If you didn't reach out to me, I would probably be passed out on the tavern table right now instead of talking with Badawi. Either way, I'm feeling much better than when you first found me at the tavern. I can feel inspiration already welling up inside of me. Maybe this will be just the opportunity I needed to create a whole new style. All right, let's head to Aru Village.
Okay, our village, here we come. So. Uh-oh, scorpions. Gotta be careful with those. So. Let's teleport there. Our village is the place, where exiled academias were. But it's only best for Kaveh and the others. Kaveh and his client. So, we're going there, and that's our pinpoint.
Now that we're here, it's my partner's time to shine. Marak!
Oh, the toolbox! Hello! Nice to meet you again.
Oh, what's this?
Maroc.
My toolbox. I built it using an ancient mechanical core. It's not too smart, but it's super useful and can help me with a variety of tasks. I'll take Marak and find a suitable location for the building. Once that is done, I'll get to work on a few designs.
Traveler?
Setaria? It's her!
Ah, you know each other?
Yeah!
Hello. I suppose you must be Kaveh from Kasharwar. I have heard of you before. My name is Setaria, and I'm currently the person in charge of promoting educational assistance programs here in the desert.
Educational assistance programs. Then you must be familiar with the local conditions here.
I can't say I'm too familiar just yet, but if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them.
I've been commissioned by Mr. Badawi to build a library in the desert. We've settled on the general design direction, but we are trying to finalize some details based on the conditions around the intended location.
A library? Do you intend to open it to the public for free?
That's right. I want to make sure the children will have books to read.
That's fantastic! I'm sure the children will be thrilled. Right now, we don't have access to many paper books or a quiet place to read. Truth be told, this very thing has been keeping me up at night.
Let me get straight to my questions then. Can you estimate the number of children around here who'd be interested in reading? Besides the usual noise of village pedestrians, are there any other sources of noise in the village? Oh, and have any landslides occurred here recently? And also, where are the spots around the village that have been most affected by wind and erosion?
Setaria considers Kaveh's question and offers her answers.
All right, that should be everything. Badawi, let's go over the budget again. We'll keep the building structure the same, but make the place a little bigger, so it'll be able to hold more people and get better natural light. The parts of the project that cost the most will be the insulation and ventilation materials. I'm sure you understand, no one likes to read in a place that's hot and stuffy. I want to make significant changes to the arrangement of the bookshelves, tables, and chairs. I'll go over the specifics of that shortly. I have two plans in mind. Both are pretty minimalist in style, but will provide a very different ambiance from the world outside. Our final cost should be around 70% of the last figure I quoted. The whole thing should take around half a year to complete. Marak has produced a sketch for all of you to see. If everyone's okay with it, then we'll proceed with that as the formal plan.
You've got a new design plan already? Well, that was quick.
The inspiration just came to me naturally. All I did was put thoughts to paper. I must give you credit, though. If it weren't for your advice and suggestions, I probably wouldn't have landed on this new style so quickly. According to the traditions of my profession, I should probably name this style after you. Let's call it the Traveler style. In the meantime, let's look forward to the day when this building is completed and can finally open its doors.
Okay, so that's a good plan. Okay, all. So that's ending one. Blueprints for the future. Present suffering is nothing compared to granting hope for future to others. Hey everyone! Now, to get ending number 2, you have to ask the client in a different way so that you can ask him for some other questions. So, this video is going to take a long time to edit because I need a full playthrough of it. So let's lie down on ground and where's the client? And a few more down. And almost there. And Badawi is over there. So let's go ask him. We're gonna ask him some different answers so that he would know.
meet again.
Huh? Why are you guys here?
That's what we wanted to ask you. Who are you? Why did you dress up like a merchant to talk to me about our project? There's no need for us to continue this project if you still want to keep hiding things from us. I don't work with individuals I can't trust.
Believe me, I didn't have any bad intentions. It's just... All right, there's no point hiding anything anymore. The building I'm trying to commission you for is not really a personal residence for me, but rather a library for children living in the desert.
A library? Funded entirely by yourself? Shouldn't this be the responsibility of the academia? I've heard that the academia will be looking to prioritize the desert with the allocation of educational resources and materials. It sent over a large shipment of regular goods just last month.
You're right, and I was aware of these happenings as well. I just figured what I want to do is a separate effort from what's already being done by the academia. The desert is too vast. Even if the academia spends a lot of effort trying to disseminate knowledge in those parts, it might still take decades, if not centuries, to reduce the educational gap that already exists between the two regions. And what's more, I don't know if the academia would ever reverse its stance in the future. All I know is that as a desert dweller, we should not wait passively for good things to happen to us. If we only did that, we'd never be able to stand up and hold our heads high. I don't have much longer left on this world, so I just want to use whatever time I have to contribute something to my homeland.
Why didn't you tell us from the start?
I didn't want you to know that I came from the desert. I've lived in the desert my entire life, and there wasn't anyone here that I could trust. I figured I needed as much safety as I could get.
To the point that you even disguised your identity? That's certainly taking playing it safe to the next level. Hold on. Don't tell me you've also been scammed before.
When I first came to Sumeru City, I brought a lot of Mora, hoping to find an architect that I could work with. Someone agreed to take on the project, and even took a sum of Mora from me, but then disappeared without a trace. After that, I heard that there are a lot of untrustworthy people in this business. Some would run as soon as they've been paid, while others would deliberately use expensive materials and take a cut of the construction funding. I spent a while collecting information in the city, and eventually learned that you're the most famous architect in all of Sumeru. I figured that you wouldn't need to make Mora by scamming people, so I decided to reach out to you. By the way, how did you know I was scammed? I don't think I've ever mentioned that to anybody.
Just a hunch. A while ago, I accepted an offer to work on a project in the desert, and was also scammed out of a large sum of Mora. I ran into someone who was living in a pretty run-down house. I noticed a load-bearing wall on the verge of collapse, and suggested that I build a new house for him. He said that he had no way to pay for it, so I loaned him some of my own Mora, and told him to get some stone and timber from the local vendors. Soon after that, I found out that he had gone gambling with all the money, and lost everything, down to the last coin. And after that, he even borrowed Mora from me twice more, using a different excuse each time. I didn't even suspect him of any wrongdoing until he hired a group of mercenaries and tried to ambush me in his own house. According to him, I looked like an easy target because I was an academia scholar who didn't have any family or friends in the desert. What kind of person would just look at someone else and think, this guy looks like an easy target?
Those kinds of things do happen every once in a while, yes. Folks like him are the exact reason why us desert dwellers' reputation have gone down the drain. I must apologize to you on their behalf.
It's all right. You were also scammed by someone from Kasharwar after all. I should apologize to you on their behalf. Ultimately, neither of our experiences had anything to do with the desert or the rainforest. People who are new to an area are always easy targets for criminals.
Bad people are everywhere.
Yeah, you'll find both good and bad people everywhere. I can't understand the logic of those who like to take advantage of others, but I have to accept their existence as a fact of life. Anyway, I digress. Let's return to the topic at hand. Did you keep rejecting my designs because you thought I was deliberately using expensive materials to take a cut as a middleman?
That's what I was afraid of initially, yes. I eventually understood that you weren't out to cheat me. But unfortunately, I still don't have nearly enough mora to pay for the design you proposed. I've done the math and know that we should be able to make it if we cut some corners. However, after our conversations, I can see that you're passionate about your design, and I'm quite fond of the proposal as well. So, I decided to try and see if I can afford your proposal as is. I've been looking for work every day, and in another month, I should be able to cobble together enough mora to meet the budget.
By cobble together, you mean you're going to spend your entire life savings on this project? But then, what will you do if something unexpected comes up, and you find yourself stuck with no emergency fund?
To be honest, I haven't really thought about that. I mean, when you've lived to be my age and something happens, you can't really call it unexpected anymore. All I want is to build this library before I leave this world, so that the children of the future would have some books to read, and the desert dwellers would be able to learn their letters and pick up some practical knowledge.
You seem really passionate about this project.
A while ago, I heard that the academia had decided to recruit a number of exceptional children from the desert. Of course, this is welcomed news. But as someone who spent their entire life in the desert, I still have a few concerns. I know the desert life and can predict what the problems will be. Many children from the desert have had neither the interest nor the proper environment to learn. So even if the academia would take them in, once they enter the halls, they might find themselves surrounded by other children who look and act very differently from them. And as a result, they might become socially isolated.
Yes, I can imagine that. My father passed away at an early age. Even though I had a good number of friends during my years at the academia, for some time I still sensed many critical looks in my direction. I'm sure a child coming all the way from the desert will have an even harder time. But let's bring this back to the building itself. I think you said that you want this building to be quiet and warm, with its doors serving as a solid barrier to block out the sound and fury outside, and allow one to focus on the book in their hands. Building it according to the current plan will be quite costly. Even if I don't charge you any commission fees, I don't think we'd be able to keep it under your budget. Any ideas on what we can do?
Would any merchants be willing to sponsor the project?
Sponsor the project? You mean convince wealthy merchants to join our cause and pool their money together to build the library? That does make sense. A library is a big project, and it's going to be hard to fund it with just a single person's mora. What do you think? If we can find others to sponsor the project, we could potentially increase the size of the building 2- or 3-fold.
It's all fine with me, but where do you think we'll be able to find these sponsors?
Well, you're right. If I really think about it, I'm not too familiar with many big-name merchants.
Can we ask Dory? Yeah, the genie merchant.
Her? Hard pass. With her shrewd and greedy personality, she would never put Mora into something like this.
Maybe she can connect us with some of her contacts.
Now there's an idea. She probably won't say no if all she'll need to do is to make some introductions instead of spending Mora. Let's go and pay her a visit.
Yeah, she's a fan made of Mora. For literally, we asked Dory in Palace Alakazari. It's hard to say. Alakazare. She lives there. So, if we had to go to Palace Alakazare, it's hard to say. The palace, that's where Dory's hanging out. Like, in the Sino Quest, Dory was there in the Palace of Alakazari, and I've been to the Palace of Alakazari since before. So, let's see if we can find Dory in it, because Dory's merchandise is about anything, like in the anything real. But if anything's fake, Kaveh will get mad at her. So if Kaveh promises Dory not to think about something fake, he would. So if Kaveh promises Dory not to make anything funny, so here's what it. So here's Dory. Sorry, got a little autism. So listen, if Dory think of something funny or something fake, Kaveh would get mad at her. So let's see what Dory has in store for us. I wonder what Dory's up to.
Oh, now here are some unexpected guests. What brings you to the Palace of Alcazar's Ray? When I saw Kaveh, I almost thought it must be that time of month again. Sadly for me, I must wait a few more days before I can collect my shiny Mora.
Hey, can't you think of something else for a change? You are literally living in an objet d'art, and yet your mind is still fixated on nothing but Mora? What is the point of wealth, anyway? Is your happiness entirely dependent on your hoard of cold, emotionless Mora?
That's exactly right. Mora is extremely valuable, you see. If you don't keep your mind on it, your Mora may just find its way to somebody else's pockets. If you ask me, this place is still way too empty. Just give me some time and I'll fill it to the brim with lots and lots of Mora.
You're hopeless.
Let's get back to why we're here.
Oh, so you have an actual reason to visit me? All right, let's hear it.
We would like to ask for your help in introducing us to some merchants.
Merchants? Why? Is there some kind of business opportunity?
You described the library constructions.
Oh, I see. So you're just looking for someone to help you fit the bill.
I knew you wouldn't be interested in something like this. Still, you wouldn't refuse just making some introductions for us, would you?
Sure, I can connect you with some folks, but with every service comes a fee, you know.
A fee? You mean just for introductions?
Of course! Making introductions means using my connections and putting my reputation on the line. Why wouldn't I charge a fee for something so important? Since we've known each other for so long, though, I'll give you a huge returning customer discount. How about 500,000 Mora?
500,000? I guess that's okay. But why are you charging a fee before we've even secured any funding?
That's
That
expensive.
just doesn't seem right.
That's expensive.
Besides, by helping us out, you'd be doing a great service to the public. Can't you take your mind off your Mora even for just 1 second and focus on something far more important?
Very well. Since you're so passionate about this project, I'll help you out and waive the introduction fees. 3 of My business partners came by earlier today to discuss some things with me, and they still haven't left yet. I'll arrange a meeting for you, and just so we're clear, it'll be up to you to present your project and discuss any deals.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Dory.
Thank you so much.
You can wait here. I'll bring them over to you.
So I think I figured out about kaveh. You see, kaveh, this love bar needs to go come down. The heart bar needs to do this. If anything goes bad, kaveh's heart bar will go down. But if kaveh's heart goes up, it'll be better. That'll be good.
Dory gave us a brief introduction about the two of you. You are Kaveh, the renowned architect, and you are the traveler. Practically all of Teyvat has heard of you by now. To be frank, I don't feel like there's an obvious business opportunity here, but since Dory took the time to introduce you, we can spend some time to have a conversation. So, let's hear your idea.
All right, here's the situation. I've been commissioned to build a library in the desert, with the intended goal of allowing the desert dwellers to have more access to reading materials.
So it's a public welfare project.
Correct.
Then the commission fees will likely be very low. You should be careful.
I'm not too concerned about how much I'll get for the commission fees, actually. I'm fine with doing it for free. I just want to get this project rolling as soon as possible. We're just a little short on funding.
So what? You can't possibly expect that we just cover the shortfall for you. Besides, what does a library in the desert have to do with us? If you want to build it yourself with your own Mora. Seems simple enough to me.
Hey, there's no need to be so harsh. They are Dory's associates after all. Here, can you tell us a bit more about what we can gain from sponsoring this project?
You can get kaveh's client to advertise your business in the desert.
So we'd mostly be doing it for reputation and exposure? There is some value to that. It could make doing business in the desert a bit easier.
Well, just speaking for myself, I've got nothing in the desert.
I also have a concern. It feels like there's not much to profit from in the short term. But in the long term, the reputation gain also doesn't sound like it'd offset the cost of the sponsorship.
Then how about this? What if, instead of building a single library, we commit to an entire complex of buildings dedicated to culture and education?
Wouldn't that just cost more?
Yes, but in that case... Mr. Kaveh, please tell us what you have in mind.
I'll just give an example. If we were to build a library and a school near Aru Village, then the desert dwellers would gradually begin to migrate towards the area. A whole suite of buildings will be able to host more traffic, and thus drive the economic development of the entire area. In turn, that would lead to direct business opportunities. I've been to the desert several times. Although there are still many lingering tensions between the two regions, the amount of interaction has been steadily increasing, and in the long term, the desert will only become more and more important to Sumeru.
You do have a point.
Education in the desert is indeed an industry that has not been tapped into. If we can be the first to place stakes in the area.
And you just believe anything he tells you?
Even the greenest amateurs know that urban planning will affect population flow. If you don't believe me, you can ask anyone on the street to confirm it to you.
You don't you don't seem to think about your questions very thoroughly before speaking.
Hey, why are you starting to sound like I'll hate them?
Wait, something just occurred to me. If we're going to build a library in the desert, Aru Village would obviously be the best place for it. But it seems we're not the only ones with our eyes on the village. I heard a rumor a while back saying a lot of land and buildings in Aro Village have already been secretly purchased by a big-name merchant.
What?
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 In other words, if we try to join the fray now, there won't be much left for us. If we want to build a suite of buildings focused on education and culture, Aro Village is the prime location. If we want to build it anywhere else, we'll have to deal with a far larger list of problems. It's not impossible, I suppose, but...
Then there's no hurry. We can wait for Aru Village to develop more first and get into the market for expansion to other areas.
But if you were to do that...
Is there nothing else to discuss? Great timing! I pretty much heard all I want to hear. If there are no other urgent matters, I'll be on my way.
I'll be off as well. If you have any new ideas, please feel free to reach out.
It seems like the others are not interested in funding this, so no point in me doing this on my own. Let's revisit this another time.
Hey, guys, wait! Well, what can I say? I guess it went somewhat as expected. They are Dory's friends, after all. As soon as they heard that there's not much more in this for them, they lost all interest.
That's just business, I guess.
Yeah, it's just another day doing business with people. But I can never get used to that. Those people never think of anyone other than themselves. Looks like we'll have to figure out some other way to get the funding. Let's go.
Okay.
How did the meeting go? Want to talk about it?
That's Dory? What's Dory doing here? Is she spying on us? Okay, so Dory's spying on us? Let's go ask her.
Oh, where did all that passion go from earlier, I take it you weren't able to find a sponsor for your project?
Please don't tell me that you're here to mock us.
What kind of person do you take me for? Would the kind and generous Lord Sakuma Bay really do such a thing? I will say, though, I more or less expected this outcome even before I introduced them to you.
You spied on
You
us.
can try to talk up the project all you want, but the facts will remain the same. This project is high investment with slow returns. No sane person would put their money into this.
But this isn't just a business project, right? Also, if you already knew no one would want to partner with us, why did you still try to charge me 500,000 mora? You scammer!
You might want to remember who your creditor is before you start talking like that, Kaveh.
I'll pay back every last coin that I still owe you, but that's a completely different matter.
Alright, since you're so devastated about this, I'll set you up for dinner with another big-name merchant. In fact, I'll be inviting the most famous merchant in all of Sumeru, so I'll be counting on your performance.
What? Really? I would like to sincerely apologize for my attitude just now. So, where would we be meeting this merchant?
Follow me. Oh, I suppose both of you can come.
So, we're going to meet the other merchant, which we need to follow Dory. So, I just figure out about this hangout. So, Kaveh's cheer level shows this. When Kaveh's cheer levels go up, he'd be happy. But if it goes low, he'll be unhappy. And he'll overstress. Like literally. Are those the two merchants that...
This is the place.
You said you're going to introduce us to the most famous merchant in Sumeru. Well, where are they?
You still don't get it, huh? The most famous merchant in Sumeru?
is Lord Sangemabe.
Huh? So you meant yourself all along? Then why did you bring us here?
Well, I've given it some thought, and that complex of education and culture buildings that you mentioned does hold some promise. It'll be a pretty big Mora sink, and I'll have to fund it all on my own, but that's not really a problem for me.
Seriously? Where's this generosity coming from so suddenly? Are you trying to scam me again?
The reasons are not important. What's important is that I'm willing to help you. However, you know just as well as me that once this project actually breaks ground, it'll start sucking Mora from my pockets like crazy. So, to cut costs...
And the Mora prices?
I get it. I won't charge any commission fees, and I'll take responsibility for the entire project.
Splendid! Then let's sign the contract right away.
Dory prepares 2 contracts.
This way, the children of the desert will have some books to read. Their lives should improve a bit after this.
You seem rather pleased.
Of course, there are a few things better than using my knowledge to help other people change their fates. I must thank you as well, Dory. I used to say you only cared about Mora, which might have been some prejudice on my part. Sorry for that. I will also try to pay back my debts as soon as possible. Now, let's have a quick discussion. Where would you want the library to be built? That will be the most important building.
There's no rush. I'll provide you with a copy of the deed when we get back. You can just use the address on the document to find the lot.
Huh? The deed?
You don't mean...
So hold on a sec. The person who has been buying up everything around Aru Village was you all along?
Oh my, did I not tell you about that? Yep, yours truly has been buying up all the land. I must thank you for bringing your ideas to me. Before our conversation, I had no idea what to build on all those lots. So, from my perspective, this has been a great turn of events. I didn't put much in and easily got a lot in return.
But what about my commission fees?
Huh? Didn't you waive those yourself? I was just gonna say that to cut costs. We mustn't procrastinate and should start construction as soon as possible. But before I could finish my sentence, you volunteered to waive your commission fees and even promised to take responsibility for the whole project from start to finish. I am so touched, really.
It's obvious that you used every trick in the book to deceive me. You deliberately paused for a long time while talking about the project and kept glancing at me with that menacing look in your eyes.
Huh? You really think so? Well, the contract's already been signed, so there's no point in dwelling on the details. You know what? I'll pay for tonight's dinner.
Kaveh feeling
Fine. I'll drop the argument on the commission fees. But since you said you're paying for dinner, I'm going to order the best dishes and booze this place has to offer, and lots of it. Tonight, we're feasting until I've recouped my full commission fees.
Okay, so that's how you get ending number 2. So the thing is, I figure out, remember, Kaveh's geometer shows that if it goes high, that means Kaveh will be really happy. But if it goes low, Kaveh will be stressed out. If it gets too stressed out and his cheer levels go down, whoa, it's gonna be big trouble if anything goes bad.